She's also got grant for setting up vermicomposters throughout campus. What we want to try and do is try and introduce composters in residence also. Many universities across Ontario and Canada has these initiatives, and our campus still doesn't have that. I want to try and push that as soon as we can. So I'm going to invite Lina over, and she's just going to speak about vermicomposters.
So does everybody know what a compost bin is? Like a compost bin? What compost is? Yes? Okay, what is it? You right there. Yeah.
It's basically it's like a bin that you'd have soil in it, and then the stuff that you have is like organic, so that when it decomposes, it just helps the environment, just kind of cycles it.
Cool. So basically, there's worms in here, and they eat your apples, and they'll poop out really nutritious stuff. Pretty much that's it. We're going to distribute this around, and while I do that, I'll explain exactly why the compost. So, if you can just take a look at it, smell how good it is. It doesn't smell like mold. That's the thing that I want everybody to take home. That's the big take-home message. But basically, like Arjun said, there's a lot of campuses across all Canada that have composting initiatives. A little bit of history. We started trying to get, some real big composters at our community garden, which I hope you guys all know about, on California, run by Oakland. So they were approved. We had three different styles because we didn't want us to sit there and manually ventilate them. Some had pipes going through them with holes, and some had cinder blocks rotating or whatnot. And basically, after we got the money for it, ground services said that they didn't want any students touching this kind of stuff for liability purposes. So we figured if that's the biggest barrier, we need to break that stereotype down, really. So I want everybody to go home today and not be disgusted of worms or touching worms, because that's a big problem that we have. And as soon as that's done with, we can go back to trying to implement our bigger industrial bins. So as you can tell, these bins are not going to take in a lot of vegetables, a lot of food scraps, but that's not the point of them. It's just an awareness campaign, and really to engage people and to break that biggest barrier so that we can actually get past that and start these bigger things. So we do have limited amount of money. We have two sizes. So the ones that's going around is the smaller one. And basically, there's another one that's this big, like your blue Rubbermaid bins. And I kind of want to hear from you guys where you think that these would be suitable to be, whether it's inside the route, like the condos or whatever that students actually sleep in kind of thing, or just like I was seeing, people eat wherever they do eat. As you saw on it, there is a label saying what to put in it and what not to put in it. I want to get some advice if you guys think people actually look at it or not. Or did you guys actually see it? That label? You noticed it? Okay, good. So it makes a difference. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? Would you guys like the smaller ones, the bigger ones? And yeah.
Well, I've seen households in Vancouver. They have it in their kitchens. So I would see why not we can put it in kitchens. Like for example, that does a kitchen for floor, right? So
cool.
It'll be pretty.
Would you say students use those kitchens?
Yes.
You have to be careful with first-year buildings because students will be stupid and throw worms at people.
Maturity levels, okay.
It's bad. It fluctuates throughout the years. But residence is a good idea to have it. But I think having in a CAW or more of an open space is a lot better where everyone can watch kind of thing.
Maybe you could have bins that collect everything, and then have a big bin where everybody I don't know, whoever just
the thing
brings
with
it
that,
out.
we actually tried it, and nobody's actually, even though we have dedicated volunteers to do it, nobody's actually doing the whole moving it. So I'm trying to make it as easiest as possible because we see it as something extra, and it shouldn't be, So yeah, that's the logical thing, you think. Instead of having worms and everything.
Well, yeah, that's what I do at home.
Yeah, that's what I do too. Sorry.
Yeah. I think it would be a really good fit for Clark because I know with the Clark meal plan, I'm buying some food and I'm eating on campus for other food. So you're more conscious of what you have and what you're putting into the trash, just cooking for yourself. So I think that it could be
So Clark's more eco-friendly resident than the rest.
just a different style, yeah.
Okay.
This is easier to maintain too because there's like a whole bunch of houses, more so, where there's like 5 bedrooms and 1 common kitchen. So that if you put that compost bucket under the sink, educated the Clark students, they would know what goes in there and what doesn't.
Yeah, and that's another thing. So we don't want to add too much responsibility on you guys to make sure that these are successful. So we want to be able to talk directly to these students, make them build it themselves. That was actually something that I really wanted to do too, because it's so easy to make that. You literally just drill a couple holes, it's fun, you get to touch the worms so nobody's disgusted, and then once you build it, you feel kind of like responsibility and ownership over it, so then they'll actually use it. Yeah, so do you guys think that's a good idea?
Yeah.
Yeah? Cool. Sorry.
And I think it's all well and good to get people in the habit of doing it, but I think what would also help is, I don't know, like the landscaping people, if they put in more gardens and students actually saw people using their compost towards the gardens and things like that, then it'd give them more of a drive to do it, because like if you're not actually getting any benefit out of it, it's just kind of sitting there and they're not going to use it, then people would be like, what's the point of me doing it?
That's a really good point. So the compost that is generated from these bins are going to be going to the community garden on campus. So that I like how I totally even forgot to mention it, so that's clearly a mistake on my fault. There needs to be a stronger emphasis on that. Maybe even like, here's a carrot that grew out of the carrot that you threw in there to begin with, something like a return. I really like that idea.
Your label should be like as big as you can possibly make them, because like students are great and all, but they'll pass like the smallest messages. So you really gotta like slap them in the face with it so they know, like above it, not literally. Did you see this? So like have something big and vibrant, so it's not, but so that they notice it, and then they'll actually pay.
So maybe like on the wall.
Oh yeah,
top of
above
it,
it.
not
Yeah.
like a sticker on the thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, just because it's been.
Yeah, we can also do is incentivize it for the first couple of months of implementing it. Because really, people wouldn't do it unless you say, hey, there's something for you to do this for the first month of school. I wouldn't do it unless you say, hey, get something.
So something that just came into my mind as well. So something that might be cool to do is maybe have all the students that have been actively using it, or in Clark, the students that use that kitchen a lot, actually use the compost as well. Maybe get them out to the community garden and see what's going on. And even if they don't, you can always do something where excess produce is bringing it back.
I actually just have a question about compost in general. I thought it was implemented like as a citywide project.
Not in the city of Windsor. They looked into it and they said it was too expensive. Pretty much
Okay.
that's what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, they did a whole research thing and then it was too expensive.
Okay, it's like where I'm from, like that's a regular thing, and I was kind of,
Toronto?
it was kind of it was kind of weird
Yeah.
that when I got here there wasn't
Yeah.
like a
Actually,
green
yeah.
so.
For the incentivizing, you can talk to WRC and see if they can get it like through WRC incentivizing it. So like you could do res points or whatever WRC does, if you know what they call them.
What's WRC?
FC points, there you go. Windsor has a residence council.
Okay. What do you want to win a trophy or something like that? Okay, I like this idea. Somebody take notes. You're taking notes. Can you say? You guys are geniuses.
Just like kind of going off the label thing that we talked about earlier, like one of the things that like I thought was a really great thing that they've started doing is like on the public like garbage and recycling bins, they have like giant, they're really big stickers, and it has like very simplistically like what goes in and what
Yeah, that
goes out.
confused me because the red and the blue were mixed up or something. Or something was mixed up on there, and I was like about to put paper in the wrong bin.
I was
gonna
say like that's a good model to go off of like when you're coming up with that, because it's super simple, and like the simpler it is, the easier people to see and they'll follow it more. So.
Thank you. If you're gonna put it in the residence buildings, especially the 2 tower buildings, so Laurier and Mac, I wouldn't put them in the garbage rooms because they tend to get really hot and smelly. and nobody's gonna wanna go into
I didn't even
compost.
see. Okay, I do not live in residence, so I
That's
didn't even
why.
know there was a garbage room. So thank you so much. It's actually really valuable there.
But yeah, they get really hot and smelly.
Yeah, that's good because these have to stay at room temperature. To be, like these are actually special worms. They're pretty expensive worms, and I don't want them dying. Just they're like $60 for the box. They don't like you can't. They won't live outside. They die to the harsh cold, and they definitely don't like the heat because that's going to be too moldy and smelly. Any other thoughts, suggestions, something you hate about compost that I can clarify? Anything at all?
Put them in the truck for sure.
What is it?
Put them in the truck because kids throw actually a bunch of food.
I'm afraid of people throwing in too much food. Because what happens, you'll get fruit flies, and we don't want that. Because like I said, these things don't take a lot. Even the bigger ones, they take in more. They're like probably 3 times the size of that one. But they still, I'd rather underfeed them than overfeed them because I know as soon as like there's going to be a problem with one, then like we're going to have to stock them all over the place. Right? So slowly, one step at a time. But that thought did come to me right now actually when I was there. I was like, oh, they have such, food smells great in there. But I don't know. It smells so good. The burger looks so good. So was there a hint here? Yes.
How do you know?
I don't know. I can only see like one boundary with having them in really public places where they mainly use paper plates or plastic things that people throw their food out in, because they won't always necessarily think to take it out and dump it. So I don't know if there's something you can talk about.
Yeah, so I think like having some sort of workshop with them before just throwing it in their face is definitely going to be a part of that plan, and hopefully you guys will be able to engage all the students with that as well. So it'd be really cool to have like a building vermicomposter workshop and have them all there, because it's kind of boring to just talk to them about it. If they're just going to sit there, they're not going to listen. Nobody's going to want to come. So that's kind of my idea of that. And when do you guys think would be the best time to do this? September. September?
Yeah, you definitely want it before the students are here, because once they're here, they know the routine, that's what they're going to stick to, and introduce something new to them, and they're not going to follow through.
Okay, so first week of September, or like what?
Like,
yeah.
Like have it ready.
Like if you were to put it in Clark, like I would want to move in and already have my compost bin in there, and like have my RA explain, hey.
So do you do, like you guys do weekly activities with your first years, right? Or like
with our first years, yeah, but
monthly?
I don't think the bins would be as effective in the tower building.
Yeah,
I don't think they're gonna work.
They're not going to work in the tower buildings, to be honest.
We're gonna discover there's worms in there, and then.
Well, and there's also just not as much of a central place for them to go to dump all their food, right? Like if they go out to eat, they're either going to toss their food at Croc or CAW, or they're not going to, I don't know.
So
and there's
Clark,
no room regulation.
Clark is not one of the tower buildings.
Clark is like an apartment.
Clark and Alumni, they're the ones on Sunset near the gym, and they're all like individual rooms. Like it's more kind of your own kitchen space to work in. So I think it'd be a lot more effective there.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I don't know if this was brought up earlier or not, but I think that as we're like just stepping towards this in the trial stage, I think that it would be important to make it optional as opposed to mandatory, because it sounds like you're investing a lot of money into these things, so it's important that people that you give them to are actually invested in showing other people how it works.
So that's definitely, I didn't mean to come here and say, I'm going to give every one of you guys a bin. No, I'm just saying this is definitely optional. So yeah, that's a good point. Any other concerns, thoughts, suggestions?
We could maybe like do a survey before res people move in. Like, do you want a compost bin? Do you know how to use it?
You could.
Do you want to learn about the building?
You could add it right in.
Yeah, make it a part of the residence form. See if you can find a way so that as students are signing up, they can select whether or not they want one.
Cool. I didn't know if such a form existed, but that's
Thanks for
looking forward to this.
Hope it's going to take time.
All right, guys, thank you so much.